our food inflation problem is very much structural, not cyclical or temporary, but structural. And that's really the big challenge here.
And that was friend of the show, Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, telling CTV News today what is the cause of our food inflation. And guess what? It's not Trump, and it ain't climate change. My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co-host, Rob Ambrose, not woke enough for the liberals. We are the political orphans. I just received a text from Rob saying that the internet in his building is down, so he will not be joining us today. So you guys are stuck with me. Luckily, you guys are stuck with me, right? Right. That being said, we had the food professor on the show yesterday. We spoke about inflation. We spoke about beef price. We spoke about how it's being reported that Vietnam is paying less for Canadian meat than we are right here in Canada. And it turns out that today the government was, Statistic Canada was posting the new inflation, the new food inflation rate. And friend of the show, Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, was on CTV News to speak about it. So let's listen to what he had to say today.
Take us through where we're seeing the biggest increases.
Yeah, absolutely. So food inflation is up to 7.3%. Food bought in stores, I believe, at 5.4%, still quite high. If you compare Canada's food inflation rate, it's above any other G7 countries right now. Even if the GST holiday didn't happen last year, our food inflation rate would be at around 6.2, 6.3%, which would still be the highest amongst G7 countries. So you can see that really our food inflation problem is very much structural, not cyclical or temporary, but structural. And that's really the big challenge here.
And there you have it. You know, one thing I got to give Sylvain, one thing that I absolutely love about this guy, one thing that I'm always happy to have him on, is he will tell what the truth is. And in this case, he basically just said that there was a problem, but the problem is not, he insinuated that the problem is with policies. I'm going to say that the problem is not about climate change, it's not about Trump. It is not what we tend to blame for our food inflation. But Sylvain always has the balls to say that, and I'm always going to respect that from him. Agree, disagree with him on some other of his views. At least he's very honest. And he was on CTV News. He was on the woke of the woke when it comes to mainstream media. Now, 7.3% is our new food inflation in Canada, while the US posted at 2.9%. So they went from 3.1 to 2.9 last month compared to December. We went from 6.2 to 7.3. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And as we were talking about yesterday, and as we talked about quite a bit in the past, the solution to food inflation is not to give people money or to print $14 billion. That is the reason why inflation exists, is because we keep on printing money and devaluating the price of the money that is in circulation. That is economics 101, very simple to understand. But it seems that we're not out of the woods yet. It's going to get worse before it gets better. That's for damn sure. And as we were talking about yesterday with Sylvain, one of the biggest problems with inflation is that you can't put it back in the box. Once it's out, it's out. It's always there. It becomes normal. And that's what we're seeing right now. So even if tomorrow or next month food inflation would go down to 1.5%, the past 5 years of inflation is built in now. It's there. There's no turning back the scale to go back to a cheaper price for food because it's there. So as I was telling Sylvain yesterday, even if They do everything that he was mentioning, like cutting the carbon tax, the industrial carbon tax, removing the tax on plastic, making it, we could remove the tax, all the tax, as he was saying, there shouldn't be any tax whatsoever on food. And I agree with that. That's an essential service, right? So I agree with him that there shouldn't be any tax whatsoever. But all to say that the price is already baked in because we've been creating so much inflation over the past 5 to 10 years because of our liberal policies. Now, it's unfortunate that I was right because the reports that I had seen were for 7%. It's unfortunate that I wasn't quite right at 7.3, but man, 7.3 is brutal. Like absolutely brutal. If you look at the prices of food, it's something like 23% up from last year when it comes to beef, for example. Absolutely, absolutely insane. And before I go into the continuation of this story, because the video that you saw there, I posted it on my X account and it's getting a lot of attention right now. And I wanted to address one of the comments that I received on that post, because unfortunately or fortunately, people often will comment on my stuff thinking I'm just a moron that doesn't actually do a shit ton of research before he opens his mouth. And his comment allowed me to kind of do some research and dig into it, and I found out some very interesting information that I wasn't even aware of. So brand new information as for today. So I wanted to take a few of the comments, and yes, I agree with you, Cowboy, that it's Rob has internet, liberal internet, so it doesn't work all the time. It just works when it feels like it. It's probably still on vacation from, I think there was a holiday on Monday somewhere in Canada, Flag Day or something like that. So maybe his internet's still there. There was a post there was a post, I think, by Prairie. I want to see it. Was it Prairie that was talking about how there's a channel on YouTube that is getting, yes, right here. So I definitely, Prairie, you have my email address, info@nicolagan.com. Send it to me. Send that information, whatever you have on that account, on that band there, send it to me. I want to talk to the guy. I'm going to have him on. So Canadian government censorship is in full swing. A Canadian YouTube channel that was talking about corruption in his court case just received a letter from YouTube removing and blocking 27 videos. This is nothing new. I get my stuff blocked all the time on YouTube. Like it gets demonetized, and it also gets it won't be able to be shared. I get that all the time. So I'm not saying that it's a good thing. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that this happens a lot more. Plus, Prairie, there's at least 3 cases right now where people have been posted online and they went to court. Like one of the guys, I can't remember what his name is, but there's a guy in Canada right now that's in prison for a post he made online. So, and there's another one awaiting. He has a good platform, like 200,000 followers on X, and he posted some stuff. I can't remember. It was some Christian stuff, but it could be seen as hateful, and he got in trouble for it. So he went to court. He's awaiting his sentencing, as far as I know, because he hasn't been. He's sorry, not the sentencing. He's waiting for to plea his case. Like I don't remember when he's going next, but he has a gag order right now. He's not allowed to post. That was one of the things that they put on him in order for him to get bail. But yeah, I'll just say that unfortunately it's been going on for a while. It's not going to stop happening. And you know, this is one of the reasons why it's kind of the perfect segue, because it's one of the reason why I'm building something outside of social media right now. I've talked about it a few times this week, and I'm building a private community for critical thinkers in Canada who reject political tribalism and want to have civil discourse, that want to be able to have the conversations that we have here every day, but not just during the show now, to actually be able to have them outside of the show on a platform where this conversation is going to continue 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm going to be the one monitoring and managing everything, because my goal is to really have a place where people can have exchanges like what we're having right now, and kind of keep us up to date too. Like, I want more than a chat. Obviously, there's going to be some exclusive content, exclusive interviews that are going to be just for the platform. And it's really, like I said, it's a place where we can continue this. But also, one of the there's two ideas behind it. Is one, we need a community where people like us can actually have conversations without being banned, without being shadow banned on the Instagram, the Facebooks, the YouTubes of this world. So kind of against censorship, somewhere where we can protect ourselves. And by the way, I'm working with somebody behind the scene as well to have this show on a platform that cannot be censored. So either way, I can't talk about it right now, but all to say that I'm working on this on the back end. But the point is that if you do want to be part of a community where we will be able to have those conversations, continue what we're doing here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, it will also help. The platform will not be free, I'm telling you right now, but it will also, one of the reasons why, just so you guys know, is that it keeps the people that are not serious out. So when you have a price tag, people are more serious. But it's not going to be free. And the main reason why it's not going to be free is I want to find ways to promote independent media. Like, I would like to build a team so that we can take this show to the next level. We can start putting a lot more power behind it. And because I'm a one-man team, like, at the end of the day, I do pretty much everything myself. I don't get help from anybody else. So I could use the help. I could use more time to make this show better. So that's one of the reasons we're doing this. But at the end of the day, I really want to create a movement. I want to create something where smart individuals a place where they can meet. We can talk about problems, but not just talk about problems. We can find solutions, because it only takes a certain amount of people in order to create a movement. And that's the idea behind it. So if that's the type of stuff that you're interested in, if that's the type of stuff you want to be part of, just comment yes in the comment section. I'm just making sure that it is something. You don't create something that people don't want, but I can tell you I'm going to be putting a lot of energy behind it, because this is something I've wanted to do for a long time. That being said, I'm going to see if there are other comments. People are using maids because they see, those are the type of things. It kind of shows how sick Canada is. Vesperia Rose saying people are using maid because they can't afford groceries. You know, Sylvain yesterday was saying that he supports the food banks. He gives money to the food banks every year, but he was saying that now people that used to be donors are now recipients. They're now there getting food because they can't afford to live in Canada. And that's becoming a reality. We're paying 42.3% of our salaries are going to some type of tax, provincial, municipal, or federal. So almost half of our salaries, like, not just people making 200 grand, 100 grand, 500 grand here. We're talking about the average working Canadian pays 42.3% of his income to taxes. And everything is rising. Like, all the prices of everything is rising. So of course people are struggling. And unfortunately, I think it's very unfortunate, but I think it's going to have to get a lot worse before it gets better, because most Canadians are still okay. Like, yes, they can't do as much, but I don't think it's enough for them to really start seeing that there's a problem, unfortunately. Now, I wanted to bring something up because, like I was saying earlier, I create a lot of content. I love to interact with people, and I like to educate people, if you will. I do a lot of research. I think you guys know this, and I like to put that content out there. I love to do research and to put what I find out there. And today was the perfect example. So as you see, this is the video that I just played from Sylvain Charlebois, aka the food professor. That's on my X account. And all I said is the new food inflation numbers are out, 7.3% in Canada versus 2.9 in the US. We are the worst in the G7, but somehow it's because of climate change and Donald Trump. Obviously, it's always their fault, right? And there's somebody that posted this. So somebody by the name of Cancel the Government posted the following, kind of middle of the pack, Nico. So instead of using the G7 numbers, he used the G20 numbers. So G20 food inflation is, and as you can see, Canada is mid of the pack. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we would be 12 in the G20. At -6, unfortunately, it's inaccurate because it's now 7.3. So we're closer to India. So he's basically telling me that being close to India is a good thing. So I responded to him and I'm like, I said the following, but oh, by the way, it's not 6, but 7.3. But having the same food inflation as India is not an accomplishment. We are the second biggest country in the world. With all the space we require to have as much cattle, we could flood the market, the world. But instead, through policies and virtue signaling, is causing us to have the worst food inflation in the G7, more than twice the US. And their solution, print $14 billion. We don't have to give money back to Canadians. All this uncontrolled money printing is the exact reason why we are in this mess. This is nothing to be proud of. He came back and he said the following. You know that over 93% of Canada's landmass is not farmable, right? We have about 11 million cows right now because they are competing use for all the lands to grow other crops. Typically, about 14 million, but not enough food to feed them. And funny enough, he just posted a meme he saw somewhere saying farmable land in Canada category, it's category over percentage. So total agriculture land, pasture plus crop, 7%. Arable land can grow crops, 4 to 5%, and high quality prime crop, 0.5 to 1%. So my answer to him is, obviously, I don't see him ever answering that question. Oh, yeah, there you go. Exactly. Okay, cool. So I did some research because I knew he was quite inaccurate, but unlike him, I'm going to actually do some research and share the real numbers. So here's what I found. Although Canada can only farm 6 to 7% of our land, which is accurate, what he was saying was true, that represents 62.2 million hectares or 153.7 million acres. Canada is number 7 in the world for total amount of agriculture land, both arable, meaning crops, and grazing for animals to eat pastures. We are 7 in the world for total agriculture. We're number 6 in the world for total amount of arable actively plowed and used for crops. What people don't understand is the following. But Canada is number 2 after Australia for the most agriculture land per capita. Because remember, we're the second largest country on the planet, but we only have 41 million citizens, or 41 million people that live in Canada. So not only are we number 2 after Australia when it comes to most agricultural land per capita, but when it comes to arable land per capita, we're number 1 in the world. So I told him this is where doing actual research to understand the numbers is important. Once again, Canada is in this mess because of our terrible policies, red tape, and virtue signaling. That was my answer to him. But I didn't know this. I was not aware. Like, I knew we were probably in the top 10 when it comes to the amount of agricultural land that we have, because we're the second biggest country on the planet. I didn't realize that we were number 1 in the world per capita, meaning we have more arable land per individual that lives in Canada than anywhere else in the world. And we're number 2 when it comes to the most agriculture land, because Australia has a lot of grazing or pasture land. They don't have a lot of arable land, but because I put them both together to kind of show the irony here, they're number 2. And obviously, because I do a lot of research, I gave him all the facts and I gave him the pictures of them. Now the guy came back, I just saw that. Which policies red tape are caused by beef prices to remain stubbornly high? And you know what I'm going to do as we speak right here? I'm going to take the video that we recorded yesterday with the food professor and I will allow him to listen. Just check this video. But here is the truth. Not only are we struggling when it comes to, not only are we killing our oil and gas, our energy sector, not only are we about to kill our car sector by allowing EVs to flood our market, but now we got proof. I just showed you the proof that it is really red tape and bad policies that are preventing us from using all the agriculture land that we have, because again, we're number 2 per capita for full agriculture land, and number 1, we're number 1 when it comes to arable land per capita. So there's really no reason. On top of that, we have the second or third largest, it's the second or third largest reserve of oil and gas. We're the number 1 producer of hydroelectricity in the world. We have all the raw materials to build, to flood the market, to actually become as rich as Saudi Arabia. Not the culture, obviously, but the money. Yet, here we are. Here we are with policies destroying our own country. There is really no reason for us to not be a world superpower, but here we are. Worse in the G7, and what did I say, 12th or 13th, like 13th or 14th in the G20. We are the equal of India. And that's the reality. This, you know, the more you dig, the more you find out that we are really shooting ourselves in the foot. We are really shooting ourselves in the foot. Ed Trafford 9257 is saying, how did we go from breadbasket of the world in the 1960s to basket case of the world now? Terrible policies, but, and this is where Rob and I will disagree, because he's not much of a conspiracy theorist. He hasn't been in that world for very long. At least I don't think he's ever had access to a guy like me before that will talk about this stuff to him. But there's no way that it's not intentional. That's the thing. This is not coincidences. This is not something that just happens. This is literally terrible policies that are causing this. And those are done on purpose. At the end of the day, our governments play the long game. This has been going on for, as you said, the 60s. The decline of Canada really started in the 70s, if you ask me, when we separated church, around the time we separated church from the state, and then government became God. This is really where it all started to go downhill. People might agree with me. People might disagree with me because they're not God-fearing people. They're not religious. That's fine. But it really did start happening around the 1970s. And if I remember correctly, it was Trudeau Sr. that was in power. I just want to make sure that my dates are right. He was, yeah, exactly. So he served from 1968 to 1979 and from 1980 to 1984. So he was in power for 15 years. And those are all around the same time. If you look at the decline of Canada, it really started around Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Trudeau Sr., Justin Trudeau's father. And he's the first one to start talking about how Canada doesn't really have a culture. And it's interesting how it all started there. This is always what happens, right? When you start saying you don't have a culture, or you allow others to dictate what your culture is. And again, Ed, I agree with you. Ed is saying history shows when you move away from Christian values, you move away from prosperity. And it's interesting because the next story is about Christianity, is about something you're probably not going to see that anywhere really discussed, but it's about something that Mark Carney said today that is completely appalling. It's a shame that Rob is not here as someone that's an atheist, but it's absolutely appalling what he said today, and it's showing me that it's going to get worse before he gets better. So it's a good thing you brought that up, because I see it the same. There is there's always something really wrong when you look at the Marxist game plan. Marxist 101, what do? They separate people from God, and then they replace God by the government. That's always the number one. Then the number two, what they do? They take the men out of the family. So men are removed from the family unit, because guess what? Who fights tyranny? Normally it's going to be men. Men are going to be the ones dying against tyranny. So if you separate men from their families, who are raising the next generation? And this is what we're seeing right now. If you look at the numbers, something like 50% of marriages end up in divorce, and in 90% of the cases, the mother gets the children. That means you have a lot of boys out there that are being raised without their fathers in the household. We have a bunch of boys that are being raised by women. I think we can all agree. And if you disagree, let me know in the comment section, because this is something that I used to talk about all the time. I'm a very big proponent of masculinity and men in the family, because I grew up without a father. My father left when I was young. He was never around. And then at the age of 14, he basically moved away, different city, different province, actually. He moved to Alberta, of all places. And I saw him a handful of time before he died, and I think I was 29, 30 when he died. So I could count on one hand the amount of time I saw him from 14 to 30, I think. And I think it had been like 7 or 8 years since I saw him last when he died. But the point I'm trying to make is I did a lot of bad things when I was young. I did a lot of drugs. I sold a lot of drugs. I was an alcoholic. I was a high school dropout. And that is all because I did not have a man around to teach me what it was to be a man. And this is what we're seeing today, and this is no different. So, number one, they disconnect you from God and they replace God by government. Then they remove men from the family unit so that boys are raised with other fathers and daughters are raised with other fathers. Just look at the state of affairs of young women today. They absolutely have no values. They don't respect themselves whatsoever. And I'm not saying boys are any better. Quite the opposite, really. But then what's the third thing that always happens in Marxist communities, in Marxist countries, and communist countries is what we're seeing right now. You're seeing men becoming women because they don't know what a man is. This is not a coincidence. This has been happening since Rome. And even prior to Rome, if you read your Bible, you're going to see that the descent that we're seeing today is nothing new. This is something that's cyclical. It always happens. But that is definitely Marxist 101. And if you look throughout history, especially over the past 2,000 years, one of the things that also happens is Christianity is under attack. Christianity gets attacked, and that's part number one. You disconnect the people from God. And today we had Mark Carney. He was in Montreal to speak about his new program that is called Buy Canadian Defense Plan, is how we called it. But this is not what I want to speak about, because everybody else is talking about it. That's not what I want to address. I want to address one of the answers that he gave to a journalist today. And I'm going to apologize from the get-go that it is in French, because I don't know if I've said this before and I'll say it again, but every time Mark Carney has something really bad to say, he says it in French. Like he keeps on going from French to English to French, English to French. And today was in Montreal, so obviously he was going to speak some French, but I apologize, it's in French, but I'll translate. There's captions on it. They're translated so that you can keep track of what he's saying, but don't worry, I will definitely be translating what he's saying, and we're gonna address it. It's insane. It's absolutely insane what he said. So here is Mark Carney today in Montreal answering questions about his new Canadian defense plan.
De M. Rubio il y a une semaine à Munich. On parle, M. Rubio, il a parlé, et l'administration américaine de temps en temps parle d'un nationalisme chrétien.
So that's a good point. Laurie Shea is asking, but are those translations correct? You can't believe the corrupt media. Those translations were added by somebody else, but oh yes, his French is absolutely atrocious, but I will translate for you. I am French after all. The first part of his video, the first part of the video is going to talk about Rubio in the US, because I don't know if you guys saw that, but he was in Munich a couple of days ago, and basically Rubio said that the West was built by Christians, and he kind of alluded to the fact that we need to go back there. This is where we belong. This is what the West is all about. But Laurie, there are definitely mistakes in the translations, but again, I'll translate. So up to now, he's just going to start to talk about Rubio, and he's going to say how they bring up Christianity, and that's their right. They have the right to do that. It's what he says afterwards that's a problem.
OK, ça c'est le droit. C'est le droit de l'administration. C'est pas le nationalisme canadien. Le nationalisme canadien, c'est un nationalisme civique.
So basically what he's saying right now is that the Christian type of nationalism that you see in the US is not Canadian nationalism. Canadian nationalism is a civic nationalism, whatever the hell that means. But this is what he said up to now. So he basically alluded to Rubio. He said that it's okay for them to be Christian or to have a Christian nationalist environment or movement, but this is not what Canada is about.
On respect des cultures diverses, des foi diverses, des gens sans foi, tous les aspects de la diversité, la grande diversité de ce beau pays. Ça, c'est
This has to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. Like, it's hard for me to believe what he just said, but he basically alluded that Canadian culture, Canadian nationalism has to do with cold, with the winter. And I understand what he's trying to say, but that is not what he said. His French is so bad that he basically said that Canadian nationalism is about cold winters, is about being cold, and it's about respect. That's basically what he's saying, but he's alluding to Canadian nationalism being about being cold. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard him say. Absolutely stupid. Oop, I just rewinded. There we go.
De ce beau pays. Ça, c'est un point très fondamental. Alors, on a des changements à travers le monde plus dangereux et divisé, mais il y a une...
So right now he just said that, this is a line that he tends to repeat all the time. He's saying that we live in a time where the world is more dangerous and divided than ever. You know, he always says that. That's exactly what he said right now. And here's the interesting part, or the part I really wanted to talk about.
lutte qui commence avec le nationalisme de sang et deux fois de temps en temps, et le nationalisme canadien. Et
this is the part that's very dangerous. So basically what he said is that there is a battle that's starting between Christian nationalism and Canadian nationalism. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. Our prime minister just said that there is a battle, not a war. That's too big of a word. If I translate what he said, he used the word, the equivalent of battle, but he said that there is a battle starting between Christian nationalism and Canadian nationalism. And he described Canadian nationalism about being cold and winters. It's absolutely ludicrous what he's saying. And here he's going to continue. He has about 10 seconds to go, but I'll finish translating afterwards.
c'est important, oui, c'est important de protéger notre pays dans une matière de défense, mais surtout, c'est plus important de protéger notre système, nos droits et notre système de respecter tous les gens ici, qui habitent ici. Le discours de M. Rubio.
So what he said by at the end there. So he said that there was a battle between Christian nationalists and nationalism. My apologies, and Canadian nationalism. And then he went on to say that it was important to protect our country, but it's more important to protect our system of rights and respect all the people who live here. Doesn't that sound like he's blaming Christian for something? He's blaming people like me? Like I'm the problem? Yet, can somebody here really say that we are not the most persecuted religious group in Canada, in the country we built, in the country my ancestors, that were all Christians, built? We give more rights to minorities. It's Christians that are being arrested. It's Christian pastors that are being arrested. Bill C-9 is going after the Bible. Mark Miller, not our justice minister. What was he again? Mark Miller. What's his new role? Because he was immigration. Oh yeah, Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. Mark Miller said that the Bible's hateful. And clearly, Bill C-9, we've done a deep dive on it. They're targeting Christians. And Mark Carney has the audacity to tell us that we are the problem. Yet, without my Christian ancestry, this country wouldn't exist. But it is our fault. At the end of the day, Christians out there, it is our fault for what's happening, because most Christians have become lukewarm and they've allowed foreigners who don't embrace our culture to dictate what this country's become. But I got a feeling from that speech alone, if you look at all the bills, the Bill C2, C8, C9, C12, C16, and soon enough another Bill C63, the gun grab that's going on right now, they are doing everything possible to make sure that we can't do anything about it. And if we do, we'll get arrested. So the future is going to be something. I think we're all aware that it's going to get worse before it gets better. But yeah, it would have been nice if Rob was on the show today, because clearly this is not a Christian show. As much as I'm a Christian, this is not a Christian show. It's just who I am. And Rob, with his atheism, always brings the other side of the medal, which that's what the show is all about, right? To have the two sides trying to get along. But there are let's take Lori here. Let's take some comments. We got time for some comments. So let's take a couple of comments here. So Lori is saying not only Christians to blame, it's every Canadian who got complacent and let this slowly happen. You couldn't be right. You couldn't be more right. I couldn't agree with you more. You're absolutely right. But the reason I'm blaming Christians is because we built this country. My ancestors built this country. It's up to us to protect it. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. There's nothing racist about saying that some cultures don't align. There's some cultures that are not meant to live together. They're not meant to be in the same society. And we don't have to be tolerant of every single other culture if their main goal is to go against ours. Just look at what Poland is doing. Just look at what Japan has started doing. Poland is literally getting rid of Muslims because they're, hey, sorry, our country's Christian. Your values don't align with us. There's plenty of other countries that you can go to that Islam is the way of the country, but not here. Same thing for Japan. Japan are starting to get rid of Islam from their country, not because they're Christian, just because it doesn't align with their culture. So there's nothing racist about picking and choosing the people that you let in your country. And this is where we have gone very, very wrong. Where not only are we allowing people that are not aligned culturally, but they're here to change ours. And that's a problem. And you guys know when Rob is here, this is something that he agrees with too. So this is not a political statement. I just want to go back to a place where Canada's Canada. And it doesn't look like under Carney that's going to happen. It's only going to get worse under this guy. Vesperia Rose, none of my comments are going through now when I speak the truth. Well, I saw that one. What are you guys thinking? Because one of the things that a lot of people like to accuse Christians is to be complainers, is to be always complaining about something. Oh, boo, it's all about you. So what do you guys, I'm sure we have some listeners of this show that are not Christians. So what do you guys think about what's going on? Am I being over the top? Am I seeing something that doesn't exist? Am I over the top? Am I smoking crack? Am I absolutely wrong? Or do you think that there's a legitimate targeting of Christians in Canada? You don't need to be a Christian to see it. Rob sees it. We've had that conversation many times. Rob sees it, and he's not a Christian. So what do you guys think? Is there a targeting of Christians in Canada? Do you think that the speech that I just played from Mark Carney, you're going to have to trust me on the translations, but do you see that as a problem when you have a prime minister that is insinuating, it's not even insinuating, is saying that Christian nationalism is a problem? Because technically, if my type of Canada, my type of nationalism is Christian, well, he's basically talking about me. He's talking about people like me. So is that a problem? Am I overreacting? Am I smoking crack? Or do you guys really see a problem here? Chris H 563 is saying, if you had Canada as a strictly Christian nation, how would people who are not Christian fit into that? See, great question. I really appreciate that question because this is a type of conversation that we need to have. Absolutely great question. Again, I wish Rob was there because he would have explained it to you, because this is a question this is a conversation we've had. I've had this with many other podcasters in the past, but if you look, Christians are normally as tolerant as it gets. Yes, you have obviously you have people that call themselves Christians that are not Christians at all. But if you go back through history, Christians were always known, or for the vast majority, to be tolerant of others until it was too much. But if you look here, if you look 70 years ago. If you go back to the 50s, 60s, for example, it was Christian. It was very Christian here. But we still accept others because we have tolerance. We're supposed, at least, to be tolerant. If you read your Bible, it does teach you, especially the New Testament, it will teach you to be more tolerant of others. That's the whole point. And this is why this happened. But Chris H., only under a Christian nation are you going to see the type of tolerance that we've grew accustomed here. Because we all know that if this was a Muslim nation, you would be under Sharia law, and all the advantages that the trans and the gay individuals out there would not be able to live here. Or if they did, they wouldn't live for long. So we tend to be extremely tolerant. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Again, I wish that it would have been I was really hoping to have that conversation with Rob to see his side of the story, what he thinks. But Lost Art 420, religion is not my thing either. And you know what, man? There is absolutely no problem with that at all either. I got to tell you, religion's not my... As much as I'm a Christian, I don't go to church. I don't like dogma. I have a big problem with dogma. If there's something I need to believe without being able to question it, I got a problem with it, no matter what it is. But I do read the Bible. So, am I religious? I guess I am. But I'm not religious as in I attend church on Sundays. I tend to prefer companies of other Christians and have our own conversations, have food, have a drink, smoke a cigar, and have those conversations among us people that read the Bible. But yeah, I get you, man. I fully understand Lost. Hopefully you enjoy, well, obviously you do because you're always here, but you enjoy the show, and it has nothing to do with that. It's just, I think it's a type of conversation. It's, I'm 43, and I grew up in a world where people were telling me that there's 3 subjects that you don't talk about. You don't talk about money, you don't talk about politics, and you don't talk about religion. Yet, those are the 3 topics that everybody has an opinion on. I don't care who you are. Everybody has an opinion on religion, good or bad. People have all an opinion on politics, good or bad. And everybody out there has an opinion on money, good or bad. So we're trying here on this show to have those conversations. But again, not a Christian show. Connie. Connie, I have never seen you before. Hello. The crazy thing is Carney says he's an European. He said in 2025 that Canada is the most European of non-European countries. Carney does not care or represent what Canada and Canadians are. I think it was 10 years that he hadn't been in Canada when he came here. He wasn't even living here. But the irony of this all is, not only did he say that, and you're absolutely right that he did say it, but the irony of this all is that he actually calls himself a Christian. Remember, he went to the Pope, the new Pope, it's not a sworn in, obviously it's not called sworn in ceremony, but when the new Pope was elected, whatever word you want to use, they went there. Him and a bunch of Canadian ministers went there. It cost a boatload of money, and he said it because he was a Christian. So yeah, there's quite a few politicians in Canada like Mark Carney that says he's a Christian, yet he targets Christian. Mark Miller, same thing. Oh, I'm a Christian, but yet calls the Bible hateful. Sean Fraser, our justice minister, said the same thing, as I grew up a Christian. Yeah, it's definitely going to be this year, I think 2026 is going to be very defining when it comes to Canada. Vesperia saying Rumble's way better. I do stream on Rumble. This stream is on Rumble as well. Just very hard to get a lot of attention on Rumble, unfortunately. Christians never overruled the others. Please explain what you mean by that. As in, they didn't dominate? They didn't invade? They didn't. Oh, there's quite a few places in history where where the actions of Christians was very, very questionable. There's no doubt about that. Like the what was it called? The Spanish Inquisition. That was a massive, massive problem. So I'm not saying that Christians are perfect. That is not what I'm saying at all whatsoever. Unfortunately, power corrupts, right? But I'm not, like I said, I'm not a fan of the church. I'm not a Catholic by any stretch of the imagination. So I read the Bible. I try to respect what the Bible says, not what a pastor tells me. I just do the work myself. So, man, there's a lot of comments. I really appreciate that. Wilf, as always, we appreciate the tip. I will never understand how you tip. What's $6.99? Where does that come from? I don't know, but I appreciate it, sir. Ed Strafford, thank you for the tip, kind sir. Oh, right there's the comment. Thank you for the tip. The problem being when respectful dialogue cease. Couldn't agree with you more, man. That's the whole point of this place, is to be able to have those discussions. Like I was expecting to have more not hateful, but more pushback on the Christian aspect of things, which is, again, it seems that not. But that's good. Like I want to have those conversations. It's just, that's what I want to do. I wanted to talk about one more thing today. I think I have time. It's going to be fast. It's just something that I found out today. This one kind of blew my mind, but at the same time, I'm not surprised. And it's about social media. We've all heard about, I don't know for you guys, but I'm a big fan of technology. I've been in the tech world for a very long time, and we've all heard that Hollywood is buying celebrities' likeliness. You guys know what I mean by that, right? Because AI is coming. They are looking to produce movies without having the actors anymore. They're just going to use their image, their voice, their looks, their likeliness. But not only is Hollywood doing it, but Meta, the parent company of Instagram and Facebook, have also been paying millions and millions and millions of dollars to actors and celebrities to get their likeliness. Like Mr. Beast supposedly sold his likeliness so that they can use his face, his voice for their AI. But there is something that came out. I did not know this. This happened in December, but they're starting to talk about it now. This is really messed up. It's something that Meta is saying they won't do, but they bought the technology to do it, so clearly they're going to do it. But here's an article by the Business Insider saying, death isn't the end. Meta patented an AI that lets you keep posting from beyond the grave. They bought an AI, a technology where even if you die, bots, AI is going to continue posting for you. It's absolutely insane. The company was granted a patent in late December that outlines how a large language model can simulate a person's social media activity, such as responding to content posted by real people. The language model may be used to simulate the user when the user is absent from social media networking systems. For example, when the user takes a long break or if the user is deceased. It's absolutely insane. It's absolutely, absolutely insane. And the article continues and continues and continues. We don't have the time to cover it. I went on too long of a rant, but Meta bought the technology, bought the AI technology that will keep you alive, literally. And some of the reason that they want to do that, the excuse that they're giving, of course, is that some content creators need breaks too. And this is the way that they can get it. So if they need a vacation, the AI will duplicate the type of content, the type of comments, the type of responses that they give people. And the reason that they want to look at offering that service when people die is to help the people that are still alive cope with the death. Like, what the hell are we talking about here? Somehow you cannot make peace with somebody dying, so you want to interact with an AI that sounds like them, that will keep posting content because you can't accept their death. That's the excuse that they're giving. That just shows how powerful AI is. That just shows that they have the technology to literally replace you. And they're doing it. They're absolutely, absolutely doing it. So when you're online, you have no clue who you're dealing with. You have absolutely, absolutely no idea. But yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I agree. You know, maybe we should get a Rob AI. He would show up on time. That's one thing that's for sure. If we had a Rob AI, an AI of Rob, he would show up on time. I guess that'd be an advantage right there. That'd be a good advantage right there. Ivermectin is saying, you mean lie to them and have them think death isn't final, so they don't need God for the after? That's a very interesting point. I didn't think about that. I did not think about it that way at all. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a very good point. I agree. That's a very, very good point. That's funny. Cowboy with a camera is saying that, yes, Rob AI probably has a better internet. Yeah, I would absolutely agree with you. That's probably a fact right there. Yeah, there you go. Now we're starting to really talk here. Outside Looking In is saying Ring doorbells are actively keeping our recordings for facial recognition. This is all the cameras that are installed everywhere. You look at, in the US, JD Vance, the vice president of the US, one of his biggest contributor was Palantir, which is one of the systems that actually uses AI in order to go through all the information that we have. Because since 9/11, the NSA has been building, literally since the Patriot Act in the US, any type of content, any type of information, digital information that goes through the US is copied, duplicated, and saved on a server somewhere. This is not a conspiracy theory. I come from the tech world. I was in telecommunications for 20 years. And one of the things that our customers, especially when you were dealing with banks, you were dealing with entities that had private information, we had to prove to them that our network did not go through the US, because we were all aware that the NSA was doing that. But it wasn't really that much of a problem, saying that. What I mean by that is there's so much information that's been gathered over the past, call it 25 years since the Patriot Act. It was impossible for humans to go through it. There was too much information, not enough people to sit down and actually look at that content, at all that information, and make sense of it. But this is where softwares like Palantir comes into play. Their AI is so advanced that it will go through all of that information and make sense of it, present the GUI to a user so that they get to understand the information. It's organized in a way that makes sense to them. But it's not going to take long before the user is going to be replaced by just AI itself. You're going to tell the AI what you want, and it's going to do it for you. But those things are scary as hell. Those things are so scary, because that that technology is everywhere. Like my cell phone's there. I have 2 laptops in front of me, so obviously they can listen through that. There's a smart TV right there. Obviously they can listen to that. Everything's recorded. Like, how, if you don't have a cat, start talking about litter. Start talking about litter around your phone, and within the next few hours you're going to start being targeted by ads for litter. And yet you don't have a cat. I've tested it before. It works. It works, as in it's listening. It's absolutely scary, but everything's going to be used. Everything is going to be used. And I'll finish on this just because that's the world I was in for a long time. But a lot of people feared 5G. They were, feared. I think feared is the proper word. People feared 5G, but they don't understand why 5G can be very scary. Because 5G was the first available wireless signal that was able to enable what we call real-time monitoring, meaning that 5G speed is very high, obviously, a lot higher than 4G. But what matters is what we call latency, the time that it takes for information to go from point A to point B. In real-time communications, like what we're doing right now, I'm streaming live and you guys are able to see me and interact with me live. That the 5G allows that to be done from wirelessly from, let's say, a cell phone, let's say a camera that has a SIM card in it that connects directly to telecommunication servers and wireless antennas, 5G wireless antennas all over the place. And when you think about it, it's great because you can monitor your camera from somewhere else. You can make calls over the internet. You can make those video calls all over the place, and you don't need to be connected to Wi-Fi for that. But the problem with this is that you can literally install security systems all over the place. You can install cameras all over the place. And now they have the possibility of tracking you in real time because the latency is so low. So they have that real time information. I don't know if you guys remember that. Like I've said this before, but I'm a big movie buff. I love movies because they predict the future, if you ask me. Like they always put information in movies to kind of show you what's coming. But you look at an old movie with Will Smith, Enemy of the State, where they can track through satellites, track people, where him especially. But back then they didn't have the technology like cell phones. We didn't carry microphones / cameras in our pockets. But that's there now. So the technology has a great advantage to it, but in the wrong hands, it is extremely problematic. And unfortunately, we're going down that path. We're definitely going down that path. Yeah, Trevor, you're absolutely right. Minority Report is another one that is closer to today's reality. But even in that movie, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't seen it in a long time, they didn't have really cell phones on them. This is the big difference because, you can go back to 1984, to the book 1984, where George Orwell talks about Big Brother. Big Brother's always watching. And if you've read the book, at the beginning of the book, he has to wake up and they have to do exercises. And the exercise, you're monitored with a screen that's in your apartment, and they can see you and they can talk to you directly. Even George Orwell would have never thought about this, right? He would have never thought about a world where we carried microphones / cameras in our pockets that can be tracked at any given time or day. So it's a lot worse than it is gonna be a lot worse than 1984. And yes, I'm gonna finish on this, Prairie. Yes. Person of Interest, I've never watched it, but I like the main actor. I like the main actor in there, but the technology that's in Person of Interest, is something that today is way worse than the technology that's displayed in that show. On that note, I will thank every single one of you for being here today, for having the conversation, for spending your time with me. I appreciate every single one of you. Guys, if you want to support the show, there is a QR code at the top left of your screen where you can tip us. You can do like Ed and you can do like Wilf. You can tip us directly through YouTube. You can become a member for $2.99 a month, and soon you will be able to join our community off social media. That's coming. Hopefully I'll be done by the end of the week. We can start really talking about it next week. On that note, thanks again for being here. Thanks for what you guys do. Thanks for all the comments. And we will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Peace.